Hi, I'm Hunter Rhoades, one of the members on the SteelEagle airspace control system. I'm going to pass off to my partner Madison so she can give a quick overview of what we did this semester.
Hi, my name is Madison Teague, and I am Hunter's partner for the airspace control system, which we built for the SteelEagle platform. So SteelEagle is an edge-oriented autonomy platform, which allows for the use of commercial, cheap, off-the-shelf drones in a swarm-like sense to do more complicated operations because the processes like object detection and collision avoidance are happening at a cloudlet and not actually on board the drone. And so some of the use cases for these kinds of operations, for example, would be like disaster assessment. So let's say you do have an earthquake and you want to search the area for survivors or environmental or safety hazards so that you can cordon off these kinds of areas. You can send these drones out on kind of search missions, and then they send the information back to the swarm controller to do that object detection so that you know how to address the situation on ground. But one of the limitations of the current implementation of SteelEagle is that there is no way to manage dynamic flight updates to avoid collision with other drones. So for example, if you wanted to maybe track a moving survivor, you wouldn't necessarily be able to have one drone follow them and ensure that it would not run into another drone in the entire airspace. And so this is because the airspace safety was predefined using compile time, altitude separation, or latitude-longitude separation of these drones, and they had to stay within their predefined spaces. So our vision for this project was to expand upon this architecture and create an abstracted grid world overlaid into the airspace, which allows for more fine-grained control and more fine-grained airspace safety for SteelEagle. And so our main contributions we have kind of in three parts. We have the airspace control engine, which is what actually does the creation of the grid world and controls all the rules for the drones as they try and move from space to space. And then the actual integration into the swarm controllers. So this is how we pull the telemetry so that we can do projection and drones aren't running into something and then determining that they've made a mistake. They're preemptively stopping to preserve safety. And then finally, we created a visualization tool, mostly as a debugging tool, but also to kind of demonstrate the functionality of our system. So you can see some of these visualizations here. This top part, you see these two green boxes are where drones are currently located. They're making a reservation of a free space and then moving into that free space. Our system also allows for runtime airspace adaptation, so you can change the size of your grids so long as there's no drone currently occupying him. So as you can see in this picture, all of the grids are the same size, and then down below you see a drone making a reservation to a grid that has had an adjusted size. And then finally, it allows for no-fly zone or airspace deconfliction. So this red box here is a predefined no-fly zone. So even though there's no other drone occupying it, this drone would have to avoid actually moving into that box. And so my partner Hunter is going to demonstrate the
Okay, so to sort of set the scene for what we're going to see on the demonstration is drones 1 and 3 in green and red are going to be two autonomously controlled drones functioning under the SteelEagle architecture. For context, they're going to attempt to execute a already pre-planned search and rescue mission over the field just south of their current position. Drone 2 is going to represent a drone that is already under the system's control and already in that airspace. And what we'll see is that as drones 1 and 3 proceed on this mission, which is being launched now, at some point, one of the drones' flight path is going to attempt to intersect with drone 2 in the blue, and the swarm controller will prevent this from occurring. So kind of at a high level, sort of what we see with the system as a whole is that the data plane originates with the onboard drone sensors, flows up through the drone side software, which consists of a driver, the drone hub, and then a drone mission controller, is passed back to a server on the cloudlet, which then forwards that traffic, the telemetry traffic, to a telemetry engine that then inserts it into the backend database. This was all pre-existing infrastructure. Our contribution focuses on what happens once the data is in the backend database, and that is where the airspace control engine polls the database periodically for the drone's last known telemetry message. It takes the current position data from that telemetry message and attempts to validate the drone's current position. And so if this current position check fails, either because the drone's outside of a controlled region or it's attempting to occupy a region that another drone is in, the swarm controller will issue an immediate halt command and stop the drone's mission. The other thing that it attempts to do, and what we should see here in a few moments, once Drone 3 gets a few more legs of its patrol route down, is that it's taking the velocity and orientation data off of the telemetry message, combining that with the drone's last known position, and it's attempting to project where that drone is going to be in the future. Once it does that projection via geohashing, it assigns the projected point to an airspace region under the engine's control, and it attempts to reserve that region. Now, if the region's unoccupied, it'll successfully check this region out, and then when the drone attempts to fly into it in the future, it'll do so with no stoppage and without issue. However, if the projection attempts to reserve a region that, for instance, another drone, such as Drone 2 in this case, has already reserved, we'll see that the projection check will fail, and then the swarm controller will issue a pair of commands to the drone that has projected into this airspace. And so for today's demonstration, the pair of commands that we'll see is first going to be a halt cancel mission. So we'll see that Drone 3, once it gets onto the same corridor that Drone 2 is already occupying, will actually stop forward flight. And then a couple moments later, we'll see the elevation start to increase as it executes the second command, which is effectively an elevate command that sends it to the next layer up in the airspace engine's grid world. Now, the one thing we weren't able to accomplish is dynamic mission reconfiguration. So because of the coupling in the system that existed prior to us coming in, we can't do something such as cancel the mission and then resume it at a higher altitude, but we can do effectively arbitrary rerouting once we've halted the mission. So for instance, while today we're seeing it go ahead and halt and start to elevate like it is now, we could also tell it to land or to return to its home launch location. All of these are effectively the same. It's just changing the command issued. Great. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and transition to the Foxglove visualization that Madison's produced, which will go ahead and outline sort of what the transactions the engine is running look like over time. Great. So what we're looking at right now is the wireframe overlay of all the regions that the airspace control engine has instantiated for this particular airspace. Each of the green boxes represents where a drone is currently located. We see, if you want to go ahead and pause, that because the update rate is desynced from the real world flight positions of the drones, and there's some latency with the system updates and telemetry, we get sort of these weird visual artifacts where one of two things happens. Either the drone appears to be duplicated in two places at once, or sometimes it'll lag and appear to disappear and then reappear suddenly. But what we're seeing is the green boxes generally are the where the drone is currently occupying, then the yellow spaces are where it's projecting to be in the future. And so right, we see that the drone closest to the screen has gone and projected in the vicinity of the drone that was already placed, and we'll see shortly once it hits the projection conflict that it'll actually project above the pre-placed drone once it gets down to that the fourth or fifth corridor in its set of patrol areas. So at a slightly faster rate, we see that one of the drones is moving south, that issue, and then we see that the drone closest to us that stopped during the demonstration is moving back north as part of one of its patrol legs. It's now attempted to move over. We see the second layer pop up above because it's identified a conflict. And now it's going to elevate the drone. And we see some of that weird lagging just from the update rates.